what's up? It's Autumn.
It's Katie.
And this is Seriously.
Seriously.
We are seriously on Zoom, and we are on the struggle bus today. Yeah.
That's been interesting so far.
But we're going to try to figure this damn thing out. We're trying to make it work. This is what happens when schedules are crazy. Then you just got to figure out the best that you can do.
Yeah. We had no choice. No option. Thank God for Zoom.
Yeah, thank goodness, right? Technology, it's the best. So your lipstick is very nice. I do like a good red.
You should have seen me putting it on though. That was the best part.
Why?
It was like a child learning to draw for the first time. It was more like coloring inside the lines. It might have ended up in places I don't know. Thank God for Q-tips and concealer, you know? I just didn't go well.
Oh, do you not know where your lips lay?
No, so it wasn't that. It was just more like I do it so infrequently that that I forget how to do it. So legit, it's like somebody coloring in a coloring book, trying to, oh, look, Mom, I went outside the lines. And this took like an hour to do. But thank you. Thanks for noticing.
Were you like Joker? I mean, was your smile like way up here?
I wish I could say that I was joking. It was literally like, I was like, I've gone too far. I've gone too far.
I've gone outside the boundaries of my lips.
I may have watched, look, so I know that you know, because I've said this in public as well, but like I have watched YouTube for some tutorials.
Yeah.
So, also TikTok, probably not the best platform to find things to do, but she was like, if you overline, you can do da 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 da. And I was like, okay, but by overline, she meant, you know, in this general vicinity, not, you know, in this general vicinity. There was a lot. It was legit. I was ready in about 15, 20 minutes from the time you and I spoke last, and it took a solid 40 minutes to put the lipstick on. It was a hard task. I don't even know, friend. It was a lot.
Can we go back for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, first of all, I thought TikTok videos were like, I don't know, like 20 seconds long or some nonsense. How is somebody doing a tutorial on TikTok? That's what I don't understand. I thought it was like a quick like music video, funny jokes, and then we're done.
They are a minute. They get 60 seconds or 59. Either way, okay. Probably not enough time because I didn't have this done in 59 seconds.
Yeah, clearly.
Part of it is generational. At least that's what I'm going to blame it on. I feel like I blame my age for not knowing how to, which doesn't really make sense because you know how to put Look, I just suck. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Let's just tell the truth. Let's not blame TikTok or the generations. You clearly, your hand-eye coordination or something is not. Yeah. That's all that is. That's awkward. But I mean, between the lipstick, the dark hair, the glasses, you have like this whole like vixen thing going on. And I'm just like wondering what's happening.
Totally not. I got yellow sweatpants on, so that stuff stops right about here. So
well, I mean, you are wearing a tie-dye shirt, so it really kind of stops at your neck.
Okay, so look. I feel it. I can't. That is not cute. It's not right. Okay.
Pull off the shoulder. And then you have a whole look. It's awesome. No, don't take your shirt. Put your shirt.
No, that would
Put
be
your shirt on.
There's one rule. Yeah. I love that commercial. Stupid little.
Oh my God.
Whoever. Domino's. I don't know. It was great.
Yeah. So, what?
I said, well, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, friend.
You had no idea where that was going to lead you, did you? Sorry.
I did not. But I knew it was going to go someplace good, and that's what I'm happy about. Yeah. So can I just tell you where I am this week?
Yeah. I can't wait.
Okay. So, you know, my shirts always have a theme.
Nuts.
Yeah. That could go many different ways, but it's actually going to go, in a direction that leads to where we are today. So I have been thinking, because my oldest son is getting ready to turn 18. And with his 18th birthday comes my emancipation.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, yes. From my ex-husband, my emancipation. And so I have been waiting for this day.
For 18 plus years?
Well, for 18 plus years? Because then he wouldn't have been born. Okay. No, I've been waiting for this day for like 16 years, right? Like since he was 2 years old and we split up, I have been waiting for his kid to turn 18 so I could be free, right? Free. So next week, I may or may not send several very angry memes to this dude's cell phone. Passive aggressive memes.
I cannot wait. I need to see them before you send them.
That are like, I hate you. Well, they may not be passive aggressive. They're probably just going to be aggressive. I don't think there's any, just kidding.
No,
there's not. I actually mean that. Literally, I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't. And I don't need a meme to tell you that. That's just the honest to God truth. I don't like you. And I am so thrilled that the clock has run to this point that this kid is an adult now. Yeah. And I can be free from your nonsense for life. This dude, he literally tried to tell me, like, what do you mean you're never gonna have to speak to me again? We have a son together. And I was like, yeah, and he's gonna be 18 and I never have to speak. He goes, he's gonna get married one day. I'm like, yeah, and I'm not speaking to you then either. Like when I tell you, my lips will never form words that flow in your direction, sir. I mean that. Yeah, from my soul. In fact, if there's a message that I need to get to you and we're in the same room, I'm just gonna write it down, or I'm gonna tell somebody else to tell you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I feel like that's not even remotely far from the truth. That is accurate.
It's the complete truth. So I know that this dude thinks I'm nuts. And now all of you might think so too. But if you knew the story, you would not. Yeah. It's a story. Yeah. And so I am actually fairly excited. I'm not gonna lie. It's like bubbling. I don't even know. I feel like I have like bubble guts. It's almost like one of those things that you're like, it's too good to be true. Like something is gonna go wrong. I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be Groundhog Day. It's gonna be a dream. No, I'm legit getting ready to get rid of this dude.
Are we gonna have a party?
I want to. When I tell you, this is like one of the best days of my freaking life. Like I do not, if you haven't figured this out, I don't like this guy.
No, yeah, in case y'all were wondering.
If you were wondering.
Any longer. Yeah.
3 years of marriage has given me 16 years of pain. That is not the trade-off.
Not at all. Not at all.
It wasn't worth it. I mean, I did get my son, so that part was worth it. Like, my children are here and stuff like that. But listen, yeah. Otherwise, no, it was not worth it. It was not. In fact, I feel like if a bus was driving,
don't take him that way. He just doesn't like ugly.
He doesn't like ugly, but he does like the truth. And he's working on me. There's some places in my spirit that need to be, smooth. Yes.
Yeah.
Fine. But not today.
No. Or in a few days.
Yeah. Not today.
Right.
Yeah. After everything I've been through.
Yeah. Be done.
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing.
It is going to be amazing. I'm just trying to think, like, I have all these ideas like bubbling in my head of like things that I can send him to express how much I dislike like the air that I don't even like the air that surrounds him.
That's impressive.
That's intense.
Yeah.
It's intense. Lord Jesus, help me. I'm sorry. But I have to be honest. I have to be honest about where I am. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what's true.
Oh my gosh. So
I'm not
where does that leave us for tonight's topic?
Oh my God.
Not how to commit homicide, kids.
No, that is not it. It's also not how to remain bitter and not let go.
Yeah, no, also not that
topic. Which, to be quite honest, I mean, I'm not bitter, and I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a bitter person. And there's very few people in my life that I can say that I have been angry with for longer than like 5 minutes. Like I'm one of those people that I burn hot quick, and then I just like fizzle out. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like a slow burn. I'm an inferno, and then I'm like, and I'm done. And I'm done.
Out.
So for me to remain like just not feeling you for an extended period of time, like that, you really have burnt the biscuits. It's not good. Yeah. I don't know where that came from. I don't know.
I don't either, but I like it.
Do you? Yeah, put your little, wait, where's your little reactions emoji?
Oh,
you liked You liked that?
Oh, wait, I don't know. Okay, I totally.
There it is. Thumbs up.
We're new to this.
Likes this. Katie likes this. So anyway, I thought though, in all seriousness, I'm only half joking. I'm joking, but I'm only like half joking. It's taken me a long time to get to this place. I'm not going to lie, but this is actually way better than I was. If you can believe that.
I mean, you're almost to the end, so.
Literally days. I'm at the finish line. Yeah, but that's generally at the finish line is where people want to trip you. So, you know, I'm like praying for all of Jesus's angels to surround me. Like, Lord, don't let it happen. Like, just pick me up and carry me over the finish line. Let me, on the other side, and let me never have to speak to this dude again. So, but anyway, it's because it's been getting so close. And not that I haven't thought about this before, but it just is really brought up just how we get ourselves in these situations, right? And obviously that resulted in divorce. Thank God. That's actually a situation where divorce was like welcomed, right? Which is not always the case. And but it made me think about lessons learned from divorce. And unfortunately, this is something that quite a few of us have gone through, are going through, or will go through, unfortunately. And so I just think that there's a lot of emotions that run the gamut, and a huge part of how you process divorce, at least for me, and you can tell me, you know, what your experience was, and, you know, we'll certainly talk about that. But it was very difficult to be able to understand how I got to this place until I understood how I got married in the first place. Like, you know, like what was that process about?
Why did you get to that space? Yeah.
Right. So that I could understand, you know, how I ended up getting divorced at all. Right. And then obviously how could I grow and do better moving forward? And I'm just going to put it on out there. Listen, I've been married and divorced twice. Clearly, I did not learn my lessons from the first time, right? So I went into it and acted like a nut the second time. Again, acted like a nut again the second time. This shirt becomes more and more fitting.
That's good.
But there are lessons that I have 1,000% learned this time around, which I think is probably due to age, but, you know, and also for the fact that, you know, if you fail more than once, you should probably start looking at yourself a little more, maybe. Anyway, I think that just in talking about it, that people can realize that there are a lot of things that we all experience and go through as far as divorce is concerned. And I think also too, hearing some people who have gone through divorce, can also keep some people who are like on the brink or think that they want to get divorced stop for a second and go, do I really want to get divorced? Like, you know what I mean? Like, once I hear this, it's like, okay, maybe you listen to somebody else's lessons and you pause for a minute before you make the same mistake.
Yeah, and or married. I think both
Right.
of those.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think there's something to be said for, you know, what got us into those marriages in the first place versus what kept us there, which then ultimately led to its demise. You know what I mean? Was it fixable? Were these things just personality flaws that we couldn't get past? You know, without getting into the details of the relationship, that's not fair to the other person in some cases.
Listen, I don't care.
Not with you.
I do not care. Do you?
I know.
I'm getting ready to all this dude's business, all of it. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I just was saying, if we were talking about people on the brink, I just meant of jumping into a marriage or staying with somebody to try to stay. You know, people like to make a lot of excuses. You know, there's that part of this too, where sometimes it just takes a little hard work, or maybe you should have done it in the first place. Yes, I mean, I fit into that category just as much as the next person. So, you know, where do you want to start?
I guess start with
your fingers. Do you like that? I don't know what that was.
I don't either. I was gonna start with why you got married in the first place. Like, have you really honestly evaluated like why you got married?
Because I was young. I think some of my past trauma had led to me, and still had carried over, but he was the first person that paid attention to me outside of high school. I mean, I was 19 when I met my first husband. I've only been married or divorced the one time, married twice. And so, you know, that's my experience. If there was a thing, do we have a thing, like a scoreboard? Anyway.
Yeah, we just made
yeah, whatever that means. Met in the military. We were both in the military, and that in and of itself is an environment that breeds a whole nother circumstance, situation, whatever. And it was, he paid attention to me. I had a boyfriend in high school. It was semi-serious or whatever the case may be, but I'd never been in like a committed relationship. So I went to college, didn't have any boyfriend there, was in and out, and got in the military. And he was the first person to really show any kind of attention. So it was like, oh, this is neat. And, you know, so then we spent every waking moment together because we were 19, ultimately led to, you know, a child coming from that relationship, which I thank God for my son every day. But, you know, if I look back at it, there was no good reason to get married. Every flag that could possibly be flown.
Oh, no.
High. I mean, you could be like, oh, the wind's going about 30 knots to the west. Like, seriously, you know, there was every flag, from anger to, and just on him. I mean, also my maturity level, I didn't need to be married. Right. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never lived with anybody else in a committed relationship. There was a lot of territory that needed to be navigated that I just hadn't even done on my own, let alone now I'm in a relationship with somebody. I think our courtship, do they even call it that still? Like dating, whatever. Courtship, I feel like it's anyway, was months. Like, not within a year, we were engaged and getting married. I mean, from start to finish. And following that, I think it was another 8 months, and I was pregnant. And we weren't even together 2 years before my kid was in the picture. You know, so it was quick. Everything was really quick, and I was still a kid. You know, when it came down to it, I was still growing. I still didn't have anything else to base any of my decision-making processes off of. I mean, I really didn't. I'm fresh out the house and, you know, out of the military where they tell you to do everything a certain way. And, you know, it was a lot. And then, you know, the interpersonal stuff, but I kind of think that's where the wrong turn came, was from the beginning. We should have slowed the hell down, right? Like, we should have just been like, okay, it's not that serious. You know, we're not gonna like.
But when you're young, like, nobody can tell you anything.
Oh no, for sure. The hormones are rushing, the friggin' chemicals are going, they're doing their thing. And then you couple that with, you know, things that you've never felt before for somebody else, or thought that this is what it was supposed to be like. And you just ignore all the stuff that could potentially be a sign to maybe, I don't know, not do this.
Yeah.
What about you?
So It actually, you know what? And I'm going to say this because this is terrible. The reason that I got married is terrible. And I have to forewarn, because it's going to sound like I'm saying it out of spite. And it's not actually. It's genuinely the truth. And it's something that I had to come to terms with as far as myself, as far as I'm concerned, because it's not flattering.
Right.
To me and the person that I feel like I am or am trying to be. So, oh look, there's my dog. So it's not flattering, but it's the truth, and I had to own it. And so the reality is that I did not love him, and like at all. In fact, I really wasn't even hugely attracted to him. He was not my type. He was not the type of guy that I would go for. I actually only even kind of sort of let him date me because somebody else kind of was like, well, he's really into you. Why don't you just try and just, you know what I mean? Just step out of your bubble and just try. And so I was like,
just not.
You say what?
I think you just slapped that friend right in the face.
Yeah, well, actually, it's my mom, which is weird.
Oh,
but
Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. I love you. Love you. You know I don't mean that.
Listen, she does need to be slapped in the face for this one. But she was just like, why don't you stop it? He just really likes you. You know, why don't you? And the thing was at the time is that I had I was trying to make a family. I had my daughter, and I wanted us to be a unit. Like I wanted us to, I felt like that was the right thing to do. And
that's what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. That's what it looked like. And he was in a place just socially, as far as, or I shouldn't even say socially, I just material wise, right? Like a house, car, job, benefits, like, you know what I mean? Like he was just socially in a place that was far more stable than I was in at the time. And I looked at it, and it was really genuinely about what a survival tactic. What can this do for me? And how can we create this family structure for my daughter, for my child? Like, how can we do that? And so I felt like, I think I even went into the marriage, and I remember the day that I got married thinking, if this doesn't work out, I'll just divorce him. Like I literally in my mind was thinking, this doesn't have to be permanent. Like if I'll just try it. Which is like a pair of jeans.
Right. Same thing. I'm walking down the aisle and I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the wedding that I had planned either. And I'm sure, same thing. It was just like.
I got married in Reno. At a little
I was on a military base in a chapel with like only my parents were in a cell phone because they were just coming out. I'm that old, in a bouquet that I collected out of like, and I'm like, I'm walking. I'm like, I should just turn around. Like this isn't the right thing to do. But anyway, we literally
here we are. Yeah, I had to say, I was like, if this doesn't work out, I'll just divorce him, right? And not even thinking about all the things that kind of go along with that, right? So the funny thing is that, and again, I know that is not flattering, and I know that is an ugly thing to say, that you married somebody, that you basically were using somebody, and some people might think, well, you got what you like, you got what you got, like you got what you. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Seriously. But I do want to say that it did come from, again, a place of brokenness, in the sense that I had a lot of childhood trauma where I was very, my life was just very unstable, as far as like not really knowing or feeling secure in what the next moment would bring.
Right.
And just feeling like I needed to escape certain things, and this was a means of escaping. And so it was kind of like the thing that I was running from was scarier than the thing that I was running to. And so I was willing to take the chance on that, not giving it the full thought process or full consideration that it deserved, because I'm just so busy running away from something else. And so I give that context so that it's not just that I was like this pampered princess who literally was like, what can you do for me? Yeah. It wasn't that at all. It was legitimately
It's
just
what you knew. It's what you thought
yeah,
was going to fix things. It's what you
yeah,
thought was going to be the thing that you needed in your life to not have to face that stuff. Yeah, no, I get it. I get
yeah.
it. Anybody
So
listening does too.
you said what?
I said everybody who would feel that same way, I think they would feel the same. You know, all the people that are listening or been in that space, I feel like that's a big part of why people do things that they may not otherwise do, you know?
But I think that we're not honest about, like, because it's that's a rough thing to say about yourself. I totally
Yeah.
use this person, like, you know what I mean, like um but in the reality is that I did. And so in that sense, when my marriage went south, and it went south for a lot of reasons that were 1000% this dude's fault, I still had to own my part. And my part was, you know, your ass didn't have no business being in that marriage in the first place, right? Like, none of this would have happened if you would have spent the time figuring out you first. But you put yourself in a situation to experience these things. And so, that part I had to take ownership of. And I had to take ownership of that wasn't fair to him, regardless of
Right.
how I feel about him.
Long pause. She's mustering some love and compassion and empathy right now.
Regardless of how I feel about him, he's still a human being, and he still deserves love and respect, and somebody who is going to, share his existence with him.
It's not you.
It sure as hell ain't me. Not even close. But so for me to offer up something that was not even remotely intentional about being any of those things for him, I mean, that was not fair, or loving or honest or decent or honorable or any of those things on my end, regardless of where they came from. So like I said, I did have to take ownership of that. And I do at this point. That being said.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's good.
See, growth. And I know, as I said, it can come across sounding bitter, you know what I mean? Because you're like, I ain't even love this dude. But I mean,
so yeah, but there's reasons. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Continue, because I'm sure we're going to get to the 90 things that we both want to say.
Yes. So, but this is what I will say. I think in the course of sharing space with somebody, unless you are just an absolute, like, just completely emotionally stunted, cut off human being, in the course of sharing life with somebody, some sort of affection does grow, even if it's friendship, but there is some sort of affection. Right. And so there was that little bit.
Mine's immeasurable. I joke.
I'm not. There was a little bit there. Enough that the things that he did affect me, right? They did hurt me. And I think that only comes when you I mean, a part of it is just out of straight up just offense and disrespect, but part of it is feeling like somebody who, you're sharing life with, or who's supposed to be doing certain things or whatever, somebody in that space mistreats you, then it just adds another layer of insult to, to the offense. So,
I think no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he ultimately ended up not being a nice person, right? And And I'm talking like PFA, protection from abuse order, not nice person. And it started in like, little way, just mental abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse, which I think that people do not give enough credit to. Just side note, this is my little PSA, is especially like stay-at-home moms or people who are the husband is, or it could be the wife, is the breadwinner, so to speak, or makes more financially, and that person is very controlling with like they use the finances to control you. You can't do that because that's my money. You can't, this and the other. Like that becomes very, very toxic and abusive. And like I said, I don't think that enough credit gets or I shouldn't say credit, enough attention gets paid to that. People don't see that necessarily as an abuse, but it 1000% is.
Absolutely. I think it ties into emotional and psychological too, when you start using your financial situation to hold that over the other person's head. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And touching on things that we could have probably picked up on before, do you think that similar situation with the mental, physical, so on, but like I never saw, I can't say never, there was one incident that I can recall, because he was nice as pie to me because that was a budding relationship, but like when it came down to it, there was a couple interactions with his family that were like, I would never talk to my mom like that, you know what I mean? I would never put hands on my father, you know what I mean? That was just little things. And I don't know, I remember having those thoughts like, does this mean that I'm next? Like, if that's his parents who bore him into this world, like, am I the next person that's gonna...
Who bore him? Sorry.
Is that a word? Is that the right word?
It is. It's just funny.
I'm 86. Leave me alone.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, there were some things that if I had really now, if anybody, well, first off, I feel like now I'm a little bit better judge of character, but back then I still had that thought and I still continued to travel that path, ultimately marrying him.
Well, you know what that shows?
What's that?
You know what that shows? That your need for love and attention and affection was so great that it overshadowed any sort of rational thought.
It was like anything that was like, because I legitimized the crap out of every other behavior that I could have absolutely been like, that's not gonna fly, because I was so afraid to not have that person in my life, even though it wasn't the right person for me to be with, And
I think we do that a lot.
What's that?
I said I think we do that a lot.
Whoa.
Yeah.
1,000%. Yes. Yeah. For some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, why are we tolerating this? Why? And not just in...
Because I don't want to be alone.
I don't. I didn't. I mean, now I...
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Way to be alone. That'd be great. I just need...
But to answer your question, because I know I've cut you off like 6 times, did I see anything like that? Now, this is where the story is going to get really juicy and interesting. So you thought that your situation moved very quickly.
Yeah.
My mom made the suggestion. We went to dinner, went to his house, hung out, decided to get married, got married the next day.
Autumn. I'm sorry. So, like 12 hours. I need you to leave.
There was no time for red flags.
Get out.
Okay, in my defense, can I have a defense? Please.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah, there is a little bit. Let me just, in my defense, we were friends. It's not like so it's not like I just met this dude and then went on one date and then married him the next day. Like, we had been friends and he had been trying to pursue me. And I was like, nah, I'm not good with that. And then I said, okay, I'll go on a date with you. Okay. And then that in the midst of that night, I was like, okay, well, let's just get married.
For those of you not watching, my jaw is on the ground. Okay.
Little tidbit you didn't know about me. You're welcome.
I didn't, and we've been friends for a minute.
Yeah, well, now you just learned something new. Sure did. I'm nuts. Did you know that?
I think it was circumstantial. Let's not be too hard on each other.
Oh my God. So, okay,
Wow.
I won't. Yeah.
Talk about quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about desperation.
Yeah, you was like,
so I mean, I guess that gives a little bit clearer picture in the sense that no, I was not in love with this dude. I didn't even know him in a romantic sense.
right.
So to answer your question, as far as like, did I see red flags? I mean, I never dated him in a romantic way. So there wasn't that opportunity for me to be able to see what he was like in his intimate relationships. Yes, ma'am.
My hand's raised.
I see that.
So, in the friendship setting,
yes.
Did you like that dude as a friend?
He took me out and did nice things. Like, well, I shouldn't say took me out. Like, he was cool. I didn't really hang out with him that much. It was a very weird time in my life. Okay, don't judge me.
Yeah. I'm not judging. I'm just trying to figure it out. It just literally makes godforsaken sense. That's why I was trying to put two and two together. Okay.
No. So, I mean, I never got a chance to see him around his family. We weren't friends like that. He and I would kind of hang out and kind of chat back and forth occasionally, but I never was in any sort of like social setting with him, like with other people. I wasn't around his family. Like they didn't even know who I was. Like he married this woman, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, I want you to meet my wife." Oh, and they're like, "Your wife?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Autumn." Who is Autumn? Like there was a lot. It was a lot to take in.
I have so many questions. Like so many. What one?
Okay.
Was it your idea, his idea, or had the idea come up to get married within the next?
It was his idea. So I think
wait, before you answer that, how did he want to pursue you? Like, had he already tried to date you? Or
yes. And I had said no. I repeatedly said no. So this was,
Is there an age difference? Or are you guys similar age? Okay.
Yeah, no, there's a 1 year age difference. Okay. So here's where I'm going to toot my own horn. I am 1,000% out of this dude's league. 1,000%. Look, I'm not, I know it sounds like I'm like bragging. I almost feel like I want to flash a picture of his face on the screen so you can see I'm not being an ass. I am 1,000% telling the truth. So what I think really happened here on his end, and this just also goes to show you when you have two broken people who get married, bad things ensue, right? So clearly he was also struggling with some things and continues to do so at this very point in time. He ain't done no self-reflection, okay? I mean, none. So, because who marries a woman that you know clearly up until this point refused to date you? Right? Yeah. So you got to know I don't love you. You have to know that we haven't built anything. But I think for him, it was a status thing. Like, I think it was legitimately like this chick who I have been pursuing, who I find attractive, who is this, that, who is, again, 1,000% out of my league, is agreeing to go. And I think he was just like, marry me. Like, I think it was just like, and here's the thing. That almost becomes predatory in the sense of you realize that this person is at a disadvantage and you play on that, right? So he knew what my situation was as far as, just where I was in life, right? So he knew what that was, and he
did it anyway.
Took advantage of it by going, look, this is like, he like double dutching. This is my shot. Like, this is my opening. She's agreed to go on a date. I got to get everything done in one night. Go on a date, marry me. Let's get married tomorrow before you get a chance to change your mind. Because he was like, let's get married tomorrow, the first of the year. We got married on New Year's Day. We got engaged on New Year's Eve, and we got married on New Year's Day.
Was there a ring involved?
There was. When I was getting dressed in the morning, he went to the jewelry store and picked out a ring.
Okay. There's so much.
I got married in jeans
Yeah.
at a chapel in Reno.
Yeah.
It was very
Yeah.
ridiculous
Yeah.
and totally not doomed for failure at all.
Not at all. Not at all. No.
So maybe those were the red flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that 12 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That was an entire red flag, all of it. For both of us, for me and for him.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, we went through with it.
Did it.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So that
You're welcome.
more
This story
than
keeps getting better. I just tell you a story I've never told you, and I decided to tell you publicly. So for everybody to hear, everybody's eating popcorn, listening to the story together. And then what happened? And then what happened?
I feel like I'm meeting you for the first time right now.
So
I mean, I knew you didn't like him, obviously.
I did not like him.
The other stuff.
No. So so we got married, and I very quickly became pregnant with my son. So 1 month after we got married, I got pregnant, or 2 months, I guess, 2 months after, which obviously clearly was not enough time to have spent with somebody or to get to know anybody, or, you know what I mean? Any of those kinds of things. Yeah. And so I think, again, when there's, nobody generally comes out the gate being abusive. At least I don't know that. I shouldn't say nobody, in my experiences, right? It's like a building process. It's almost like a testing of boundaries.
Absolutely, 1,000%. Let me see what I can do to push this envelope a little bit more. Let me see what I can do to push this a little bit more. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's where it kind of was like a little bit of this, and then a little bit more, and then she didn't leave, or we argued, but whatever, and then a little bit this and a little bit this and a little bit this, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, right? And then we moved. I'm originally from the West Coast, moved to the East Coast. And so when we moved to the East Coast, we were away from family and friends, away from prying eyes. Yeah, right? So now he is like free reign to act like a complete fool, and that's exactly what he did, right? So it came a point when I legitimately was like, I stopped, I looked at my life, I looked at my children and what they were witnessing and being a part of. And I said, I don't know what's next, but I know that this ain't it. And so it's time for me to get out. And excuse me, even in the getting out process, again, there was no time for reflection. There was no time for pausing and figuring out and trying to work through and healing and any of those kinds of things. It was legitimately like, again, running from the next fire. Like, you know what I mean? It was like I ran and got in this, and now I'm running to get out to this next thing. Which is how I found my second husband. So, do we notice a pattern here? So here's motivation number one, kids. Like, here's step one, right? If we don't stop when things go awry and try exactly to think about how in the hell did I get here, we're literally repeat the exact same pattern, because patterns are comfortable. And that's why we do them, because there's no thought that's required. It's just easy.
And it's not about blame or shame on like our own parts. It's just the simple fact that we didn't take the time to go inside and figure out what the hell was going on with each of these relationships. It's like, well, why do they keep dissolving? Why is this not? And then when you try to reflect on that and go back inside and figure out it, and it's not to say that it's our fault. It's not to say that that just continues that pattern. Once you're in it, you don't know any better. That's your reality. That's your truth. And until you're able to kind of step outside of that and take a look at everything that's going on, and then you realize, whoa, like, I don't like this. I don't want this. This isn't who I am. This isn't what I want it to look like. And yeah, for sure.
So I want to say this, and you can, I'm sure you will jump in if you feel like I'm incorrect in this, but I'm going to say something that's harsh, but I think it's truthful. And I think that this is the only way to really start healing yourself, right? Is that you have to really start looking at some hard things, and more than one thing can exist and be true at the same time. It doesn't mean this versus that. They can both be true, right? So the person that you married, the person I married, the person a lot of people married, can be an ass, could be an abuser, could be hateful, could be a cheater, could be a whole lot, alcoholic, could be a drug, whatever. It could be all these things, right? And that can be 1000% true. And you could be a victim of all of those different things, but you could still have contributed to the demise of that marriage. Both things can be true. And the reason that I say that is because when we enter into a marriage, and you and I just gave two very good examples of entering into a marriage that we had no business getting into, right? And so even if that is the only thing you did wrong, even if that's the only way that you contributed to the demise, is I brought a person into this marriage or this relationship who was not whole. I brought a person into this relationship who was not healed, who was not healthy, who was not using wisdom. Like, I brought those things into this marriage. And that's a problem. And being that that's who I entered this marriage as, like I came in as that person, that created an environment that was ripe for some of these things that happen. Now, does that mean that it's your fault that this person acted like a fool? No. But both things, it's like a perfect storm, right? It's like me and all my nonsense, you and all your nonsense, and that's how we got a marriage that was what it was and fell apart, right? So I say that, and again, you can tell me if you think that and I know that you will, if you tell me that I'm not being fair. But I think that it's important, right? Because until you take that moment to own and be accountable for that piece, that's where the patterns keep repeating themselves, because you never take ownership of the fact that you keep bringing the same broken person into all these relationships.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's hard to, at both of the junctures where we decided to get married at a very young age, you and I think that is stuff that we hadn't quite learned yet, right? Like we hadn't had the experience to even match up what we were feeling, what we weren't feeling, or what we thought was right, what we didn't think was right. And I think that also, yes. And again, we moved into the next relationship and did the same. I didn't pursue another marriage right off the bat, but I also pursued relationships that weren't good. You know, where I was still not treated appropriately, where I still came to those relationships broken. Right. And I caused a tremendous amount of damage in that path, even though I didn't know it at the time, even though I didn't feel it at the time. You know, it took years to figure out that, hey, part of this is my problem. And I don't say problem in the sense of like fault, or that things that happen to me because I'm this person. No. Right. Things happened to me because that's unfortunate and that's what happened. And I hadn't learned to have boundaries. I hadn't learned to have standard. I hadn't learned to love myself without, regardless of whether somebody else did or not, you know? And I think you're not wrong. So I will say that. I don't want you to feel like I'm completely against you. I think that, yes, what I just don't want people to hear, and I know they're not going to, we've explained it ad nauseum, but what I don't want people to hear is that everything that happened to you is your fault. No. Right? Like, you know, the dissolution of a marriage, it takes two. Now, when you couple that with any kind of abuse, obviously that's a whole different story and a whole different package to kind of, look at. But if it's just you being ridiculous and this other person being ridiculous and there's no way to find that common ground, or you just don't love each other in the first place, that's a, yes, knock your shit off. You know what I mean? So
you're both at fault.
Yes. But I agree with what you're saying.
Okay. So I think, and that's again, moving into another piece of kind of motivation all throughout this episode, is
God.
that I think that it's important to stop, to pause when you come out of a marriage. First of all, divorce is the same as death, right? Like, and that's something that I had to learn. It's the same as experiencing a death. Things have now died, right? A relationship has died, which means certain connections and relationships, as far as like just between families and friends and things like that are dead. A certain lifestyle, a certain way of life, finances, all sorts, security, whatever, like all sorts of things now no longer exist. And there's a grieving process that needs to happen with that. There's an acceptance that needs to happen with that. There is a healing that needs to happen with that. And so people who go right from a divorce into, and myself included, go right from a divorce right into another relationship, like immediately, without stopping for a minute and figuring out what the heck just happened here. The same stuff.
Yeah, literally the same stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, moving, you and I, outside of our experiences, we know friends, family that do the same. And it's just like, we're filling a pocket, we're filling a void, but we haven't understood what that void even means yet. We're just trying to keep doing the same thing over and over, hoping for the different outcome, Yeah, I agree. Motivation. You got to grieve it. You got to be sad for whatever it is that loss looks like for you. You need to grow from that. You need to understand what comes from. I think in grieving, that would ultimately be where that learning would occur, where you would take that moment to reflect. But yeah, no, I agree with you there too. Good motivation. That's good motivation.
See, so there's realizing that you need to be accountable for some stuff. There's a grieving process that needs to happen so that there's an opportunity for you to kind of self-reflect and heal and figure out how to do and how to be better. Now, obviously none of that happened between marriage 1 and marriage 2. None of it. So again, I brought the same broken person into another marriage, this time with a really great guy. And God being what he is, and he knows the nonsense that we do. He gave me someone who was so freaking incredible. Despite my nonsense, he knew what I needed, and he filled that gap. And even though we are now divorced, we are legitimately like the best of friends. Like he is my best friend, like my best friend. He helped me raise these 3 beautiful children. He is my best friend. And so,
So we love him. He's so
we do love him, right? Yeah. He's so incredible. So here was the thing though, because he was so incredible, or because he is so incredible, that when our marriage failed, I had nobody else to, like, I couldn't blame it. Like the first marriage, it felt easy. You're an ass. That's why this didn't work.
Cut and dry. Yeah.
It's your fault, not mine. Okay? The second time around, I can't really say that. So now I have to go, well, wait a minute. Was it me? aside from the fact that this is now my second time being divorced, but also that I can't really call you an ass. Like, I really can't. And now I got to figure out, if it didn't work with you, is my story boring to you?
No, girl, I need sleep. It's fine. I love you.
I know, I love you too. No, but I have to say, like, am I part of this problem, right? And so in order to analyze this marriage and how I got here, at the end, I had to go back, right, to the beginning, which forced me to have to go back to the beginning of that other marriage too, because all of it was a ripple effect. And once I went back and I realized, and I was like, yo, you had zero business being married to anybody. Like, I realized there was so much work that needed to be done. And I will say that it has taken me, I mean, I'm obviously not remarried. I have not gotten remarried, but I have been, we have not been together, I think probably in 5 or 6 years. It's been a while. Like I haven't been in a relationship for probably like 6 years. But all of that time has been me getting it together. And so I think that people should not be afraid of investing in themselves. Like you need to, however long that takes you. For some people, they get there, you know what I mean? It may not take somebody 6 years, or it may take somebody 10.
Yeah.
You know? But I also think that the next person that gets you deserves that. Like they deserve you putting in the work so that you don't bring that monster.
Yeah. Yeah. Do all that other stuff. We didn't learn because we dumb.
We do the most. We do the most.
Extra.
So, you know, I hate that I have been, you know, married and divorced twice. I really do. Like that even sounds bad. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like I'm that person because I think there's a certain stigma. No, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like there's a certain stigma that comes along with it. That people are like,
you know, I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I get the stigma thing. And I know people always, oh, well, da, da, da. Yeah, it just shut the hell up. Mind your business. Stay in your
no, they're
business.
like, they're like, this chick is nuts.
Maybe stop wearing emotional t-shirts would be fine.
This chick is nuts.
On another note, hey, third time's the charm. Isn't that the saying?
That's what the saying is. So, you know, but I can say this with 100% certainty. I know myself better, and I'm, you know, and we talked about age, and we're talking about my first marriage was at 23. I am now 42 years old. First of all, if I was the same person now as I was then, something is definitely wrong with me. But I know myself better than I've ever known myself in my whole life. You know what I mean? I've gotten to a place where I am extremely comfortable, where I can be 100% honest with myself, even when it like sucks. Because I realize that it's a moment, right? It doesn't play on my value as a human being. Right. Just because I did something that was stupid or ridiculous or selfish or ugly or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean I'm that person. And I think that when you start realizing that, you can start being honest with yourself about not only what you're doing, but your motives behind it. Yeah. That's the hugest problem. We want to assign all these other reasons. It's like, tell the truth.
Yeah, don't be dumb.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, because deep down you know. Like,
right. Right. You married that dude because you don't feel good about yourself and you feel like being married to him gives you status. Tell the truth. Like that, you know what I mean? Or gives you value or gives you worth. That's the truth. And you gotta own, like, that's the only way to get out of that or to break that pattern or to start dealing with that is if you're honest with yourself about those things. And that doesn't mean you gotta tell everybody, but you certainly need to tell yourself.
Yeah, the person that probably should know about it, you know, you. That's weird. You said you cannot. It should be your Facebook status. You just need to know. You just need to know.
Feeling insecure today, might delete later.
God. Look, before I got rid of social media, look. How many times do we see that? How many times do you see it? I don't have that crap anymore. Don't get me started. That's a whole nother topic.
So listen, I gave my whole scenario and I never let you finish your scenario about what you learned from the demise of your marriage.
Because I think it similar, you know, it echoes, mirrors, whatever, reflects the same kind of stuff that you learned. I think that it took me decades to get past that. I see decades, I'm not that, whatever. It took a really long time. It took the entire length of my son being born and now a teenager for me to figure that out. But I think a lot of it, even into my second marriage, it still carried over there. You know, I was still dealing with stuff that I hadn't dealt with to figure out what I needed to do and who I was and what I was going to put up with and what I wasn't going to put up with, you know. Luckily, still married. And luckily those lessons learned have made that relationship stronger. So I think part of it is just getting to that space where like you can truly go inside and understand what you needed to get from that. But like, same situation, there was trauma that was in the relationship before. There was, you know, things that I not let happen. There are things that happened to me that I allowed to happen without knowing that I was allowing it to happen. You know, interpersonal relationships in general, just what you're willing to put up with and what you're not willing to put up with. From a friend standpoint to an intimate relationship. I think those are all things that came from that first marriage. Unfortunately, no, not unfortunately, let me take that back. I reeled it back in, just reel it back in. Fortunately, we are in a space now where we communicate because our child is still of age and he still goes between the different houses and he's in the same state. You know, there's a lot of things. I wish that the relationship between our families were better for our child's sake. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is I don't know that he's gone inside and done the hard work that he needs to do. And I can't speak to that because I'm not there. I can only go off by some of the interactions and actions that we have. Right. He's not hateful. He's not mean or outwardly mean. I think that the life has humbled him in some ways, and I hope it has, and I know it has for me. But at the same time, you know, I wish that it was easier. You know, I have a different example or relationship with my husband's family. It's like my second family, and that's best case scenario. You know, Christmases, holidays, birthdays, we're all on the same page, and there's really no headbutting or angst or anger. And I wish I had that with, you know, my ex-husband. I think it would make life easier. Now, selfishly so, probably easier for me, but at the same time, it would be nice to be able to do that. Yeah. You know, I think about things too, where, you know, things like graduation, things like the kids' weddings, things like big firsts in their lives, things that make it easier for our children to not have to pick and choose, you know, where they go this year for a holiday, you know, and I think that that's also playing on that too. But I know from my perspective, I know we share similar values and beliefs in that as well. It's like what's meant to be will be, number one. And number two, that we've raised our children in such a way that they know love and they know what that looks like. Yeah. So if they don't come home for Christmas this year and they decide to spend it at the other place, I get that. And I'm okay. And I'm not going to hold that over their head or be resentful in any kind of form. But okay, don't make that face. Don't make that face, boo-boo. Are you making that face for me? Like I'm going to be resentful?
No, I am.
Oh, I know. Well,
Stop it. Stop it already. Stop it. Everything that I've been through, isn't that terrible? Now I'm making my kids pay me back for stuff that they didn't even do. Everything that fool put me through, you better come home for the holidays.
Okay, I speak for myself in that regard then. Okay.
I need to go back to that episode that we did on when you're failing as a parent or when you feel like Let me add that to the list. Clearly I'm failing.
Oh man. Okay. Well, just from my perspective, you know.
So, what do you feel? And here's the thing. I think that I know that my story has been very salacious, if you will. And I wasn't just telling it for the sake of just telling it, because obviously I have not told a whole lot of people. When I tell you, there's going to be a whole lot of people who are like, what? Because I just don't tell that story, right? But the reason that I decided to is because I obviously am in a space that I can talk about it, and it's like, you know, it is what it is, and I'm good with it. Like I don't feel any sort of shame associated with it, because I just understand that, you know, you do the best you have with what you have. And when your resources are limited, you know, so is your ability to make good decisions. So is your ability to make smart moves for yourself, because your resources are limited. And then as you grow and that gets better, hopefully your decision-making process will get better as well. But you know, you and I have talked about this, that the things that we go through, if we don't share them and allow other people to hear them and to be comforted by the, as crazy as it is, people go, you know, even if they go, shoot, my situation ain't that bad. Or if they go, well, you know what, my situation is just as bad. And if you can be okay, if you can get on the other side of that, then so can I. You know what I mean? But that's kind of the thing, is not to hoard growth, not to hoard healing, not to hoard lessons, but to give them away, to talk about them openly and honestly, so that other people can also start their process and realize they are not alone, and you're not the only one who has done something that is ridiculous or that was selfish. We all have, and you know, stuff went sideways, and we get it.
Yeah, we totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish, you know, I would have. I don't remember really having anybody in my life that was telling me, hey, is this really what you want to do?
Yeah.
There may have been a couple times where, you know, somebody asked, but most people just let it happen. And it's nobody else's fault. I just never had anything to, what I knew was my parents' relationship was strong, and they got married at a young age, and it lasted, and they're one of those exceptional couples where it's loving and they do care about each other. They're not resentful, and they're not mean, they're not hurtful. And I wanted that, you know, I wanted that for myself. And I think that had I had somebody to hear something else from, you know, it would have been nice.
And to speak to your point though, and I'm glad you said that, to speak to your point, I think that we all have a responsibility as sisters, friends, aunts, cousins, nieces, whatever, like, and I'm gearing this towards women, but really honestly, you know, nephews, sons, brothers, you know what I mean, whatever, just family, in relationship, we have a responsibility to speak up and question things. And just because you're questioning something doesn't mean you don't support it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to stand by it. It doesn't mean that you're even implying that anything is wrong. But out of love, there is a responsibility, because marriage is so life-changing in a way that we don't give it enough credit for. I mean, it literally changes every aspect of your life, like every aspect of your life. And then if there's children, every aspect of theirs, and friends and families, and, you know, just everything, right? And so it deserves something with that much gravity to it, deserves some scrutiny. And so if we love people in our lives, then we need to love them enough to sit them down and ask them hard questions and force them to really examine what they're doing and why they're doing it in a way that is, you know, just
loving. I mean,
loving.
Yeah, but also it's not about, and I think that would be the hard place to navigate, will be, it's not judgment, right? It's this is concern. This is either I've been through something similar, or I felt like I've been in your shoes, or what is this to you? Because I feel like, you know, the relationship, for our relationship, friendship, whatever, warrants that kind of honesty and transparency and vulnerability. So, yeah.
And I also would say, on the flip side of that, if you can't receive that, you're probably not ready to get married.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. If you're not in a space where somebody can come to you and ask you the hard questions out of love, because they just want to make sure that you're okay and that this is what you really want to do, and you've really looked at this from all angles, or they see some things that maybe you don't see, or that you've brushed to the side, and they want you to really kind of dig into this a little bit more, and you immediately become defensive, or you immediately want to turn this into it's us against them, you're not ready.
Yeah. There's some growth still that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Let that be a sign to you. This ain't going well.
Oh man, I'm just gonna play this episode for people. Then we'll don't have to do anything. Just hey,
this
out. You know how you send a link on the text? You just be like,
Listen, the next time somebody sends you a wedding invitation,
And
send
then
them this.
You're like, well, we told you.
We just wanted you to like just take it in for a second. Let it marinate.
Let it simmer. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. So I think that marriage, and I hope that this sounded really bad. I hope that it doesn't scare people away from marriage, because even as crazy as marriage has been for me, like I still 1000% believe in marriage, and I believe that it when it's in its intended truest form is an absolutely incredibly beautiful thing, and I have faith and hope that I will experience that one day. I really do. But I have more hope in that and more faith in that because I realize that I'm a different person, right? And so me bringing certain things to the table automatically kind of creates an environment for those things to exist, whereas before I did not. So I also have the ability to, I think, make better choices and for myself. Whereas, you know, because my choices are not based out of desperation or survival or brokenness or insecurity. But, you know, I am like, I'm good, right? Like I'm good. I'm good outside and inside.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
anything that would come at this point would truly be an addition to my life. And so if you're not adding to it in that way, then that's not something that I need. But I also look at it and realize that just as much as I value myself, I value you. And if I'm not bringing the things to your life that you need, I value you enough to say, I can't do that. There's certain things that you want and that you need, and I ain't her. So regardless if you're everything that I want, I'm not everything you want. And yeah, but again, that's because I've gotten to a place where I can be honest with myself about who and what I am. And I just don't think that enough of that is happening.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No.
So tomorrow we will know if we are still hanging with 45 or we are moving on to 46. And
Well, it may still be a few days. This will be one of the first because with all the mail-in ballots and everything, we may still be a few days out. So,
true story.
okay.
So either way it goes, we hope that everybody is respectful and kind to each other, and that we realize that polarization does not work, that we have to figure out a way to have common ground, and being a poor sport or a sore loser is not the way. That we can't do that. We just, no matter who wins, obviously somebody has to lose. And that's gonna, you know, upset a certain side of the spectrum. But regardless, life still moves on, and we still got to deal with it, and we still got to keep it moving. And so, you know, you still got to live next door to that neighbor. You still got to eat Thanksgiving dinner with that relative. Like, stop it already. So we just got to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think post-election, we'll probably do an episode on stuff just to kind of see where everyone's feelings and emotions are based on the outcomes.
Hell, we're going to figure out where my feelings and emotions are.
Wear a shirt. You just put it on your chest.
I will. I actually have one that is perfect.
I am certain. I'm 1000% not shaken by that.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What are we leaving on besides that?
All right. Well, we hope that you have gotten something besides juicy gossip from this episode. But please follow us on all of our social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch us, share it. Please come back and see us. Comment below. We would love to hear from you and any of your any of your divorce stories and what you have learned. And more than anything, we hope that this encourages you to look inward and to really start that healing and growth process for whatever the things are that you are going through. It's okay to be, to keep it real with no one else, keep it real with you. So
yeah. Facts.
Yeah, facts. Hashtag facts. You guys have a great week. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.